Welcome everyone to the monthly meeting of the Knoxville, Knox County Planning Commission. I am Tim Hill, Chair of the Planning Commission, and I'll be conducting today's meeting. Assisting me today is the Executive Director of Knoxville, Knox County Planning and the return of Amy Brooks and the Planning Commission Attorney, Tasha Blakeney. I would like to call this meeting to order. I will now ask Ms. Karen to call the roll.
Of course. Good afternoon. Commissioner Uten?
Here.
Commissioners Boyer and Midas have informed us that they are unable to attend. Commissioner Phillips?
Present.
Commissioner Huber?
Here.
Commissioner Shelso?
Here.
Commissioner Perez?
Present.
Commissioner Browning?
Here.
Commissioner Higgins?
Here.
Commissioner Levinson? Commissioner Adams?
Here.
Commissioner Roth?
Here.
Commissioner Barger?
Here.
Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Hill?
Here.
That's 13 present, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Participating today are planning commissioners as well as planning staff and various representatives of city and county agencies. The planning commissioners are citizens from the city and county who have been appointed by either the city mayor or county mayor. We receive no salary and volunteer our time as a service to our community. Now a word about how discussion will take place. After each item is called, I'll read the staff's recommendation. On certain items, I'll call on staff to comment. At this time, the applicant may address the commission or defer his or her opening remarks and allow any opposition to speak first. The applicant and those in support of the applicant will be given a total of 5 minutes to speak. I will then ask for other comments from the floor. The opposition will also be given a total of 5 minutes to speak. If either side wishes to have an opportunity for rebuttal, you'll need to reserve time from your allotted 5 minutes. Applicants and citizens who registered to participate and are attending the meeting in person will be asked to come to the podium and share their name and address for the record where their item is heard. If you would like to speak on an agenda item and have not yet registered, please do so, or have not registered to do so in advance, please raise your hand when the item is read into the record. I will then indicate when it is time for you to speak, and you can approach the podium at that time. You'll be asked to sign in at the podium as well as state your name and address for the record. The Planning Commission may grant additional time for presentation of information. Speakers should limit their remarks to the facts of the case and should avoid repeating comments that have been previously presented to the Planning Commission. Because of the number of items we have before us, groups in favor or opposed to an item have been asked to appoint a spokesperson to represent them. If you have any items that you'd like to make part of the record, please submit those documents to knoxplanning.org/share. Please identify the file number and meeting date in your submittal. I hope all of you have reviewed the agenda package from Planning's website. In addition to the agenda, there is information on the website related to how today's meeting will be conducted, as well as correspondence on individual cases. Many of the items we vote on require further action by the City Council or County Commission. For matters that are forwarded to the City Council for final action, the applicant or the representative should be present at the meeting at which the request will be considered. For matters forwarded to County Commission for final action, particularly rezoning requests, the applicant or their representative must be present at the meeting, and I say must be present at the meeting at which the request will be considered, or the case will, at a minimum, be postponed. Applicants will be notified of the meeting date. If you have any questions regarding the meeting date or process, please contact planning staff. Today's meeting will be conducted in order of the agenda. Please stand as you are able as Vice Chair Chris Uten leads us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Chair. Our Father, bless, help to ensure the decisions made this afternoon are fair, legal, and in the best interest of the total community. As always, keep us mindful of the needs of others, those who are in sorrow, need, sickness, or any other adversity.
At this time, I'd like to read a couple of proclamations concerning two of our commissioners that'll be serving their last meeting today. I'll start with Commissioner Roth. Knoxville, Knox County Planning has a long history of thoughtful, considerate direction provided by its Volunteer Planning Commission, which was continued by the service of Commissioner Jeff Roth. And whereas Commissioner Roth has made a lasting impact on our community in countless ways. He is a proud member of the Chairman's Club, has served on the board of Associated Builders and Contractors, the Builders Exchange of Tennessee, and the American Institute of Steel Construction. And whereas Jeff Roth joined the Planning Commission in 2011, making him one of the longest-serving commissioners. The hundreds of hours dedicated to this body over the past 12 years resulted in a wealth of institutional knowledge and wisdom that'll be sorely missed. And whereas his role as Vice President of Quality Machine and Welding Company, which his family has owned and run since the 1960s, has given him a unique experience that guides him to make informed decisions to help foster development while being cognizant of property rights, property values, and environmental concerns. And whereas we are immensely grateful to Jeff for the time and energy he has devoted to this body as a veteran commissioner, we hope he will spend some of his newly acquired spare time soaking up some sun on his Harley, or maybe on his boat that didn't burn.
That too.
All right. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Knoxville, Knox County Planning Commission and planning staff express their extreme gratitude for Jeff Roth's contributions to the community through good land use planning and dedicated public service. And I encourage you to give Jeff a round of applause for his service. On to our second commissioner serving his last meeting. Knoxville, Knox County Planning has a long history of thoughtful, considerate direction provided by its Volunteer Planning Commission, which was continued by the service of Commissioner Pat Phillips. And whereas Pat Phillips joined the Planning Commission in 2016, providing leadership to this group as both vice chair and chair during his term. He has led some of the lengthiest meetings in recent history, amen, and presided over the first ever virtual commission meetings during the pandemic. Challenges he met with an unwavering commitment to serving the public. And whereas Commissioner Pat Phillips has spent hundreds of hours in public meetings in various roles of community service. He is a former member of the Knoxville Regional Transportation Planning Organization's Technical Committee, the Tennessee Economic Development Council, and the RECODE Knoxville Stakeholder Advisory Committee. He also previously served as vice chair of the Westwood Homeowners Association and is a strong supporter of IAM's Nature Center and the East Tennessee Community Design Center. And whereas he has become known as a particularly thoughtful deliberator who gives special attention to redevelopment and preservation of local historic and cultural assets unique to the community, preserving neighborhoods, strengthening the local economy, and reducing urban sprawl. And whereas Pat has always championed staff's expertise and the agency's work, his reason, fairness, wisdom, and I'll add patience, will be sorely missed. Whereas we are appreciative for his contributions to our community and are excited for him to gain some free time to take his pickleball game to the next level, spend more time with grandchildren, and enjoy an occasional bourbon. Now therefore be it resolved that the Knoxville, Knox County Planning Commission and planning staff express their gratitude for Pat Phillips' contributions to the community through good land use planning and dedicated public service. And again, I encourage you to give honor to Pat Phillips.
Pat, do you want to race to the door?
I'm going to try to drag this meeting out today.
Well, I was going to say, could we, in honor of Pat, could we take roll call votes on everything today just to bring back why we don't like Zoom meetings?
Yeah, just like the old pandemic days, right? Okay. On to business. Next on the agenda are the postponement and withdrawal list, and I'll read these lists separately. Under automatic postponements, we have item 17, The Woods at Lonis Drive. Items to be voted on for postponement. We'll start with the 30 days. We have item 18, William Mays. Item 29, Taylor D. Forrester. That's all we have under 30 days. Are there any additional requests to postpone an item?
Commissioner, I'd request we add item number 10. And I will make a motion to approve items postponement for 30 days.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for 30-day postponement, which includes item 10. Motion made by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Roth. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so I'm going, let's see here. No, I'm not. Mark that one out. Okay, right here. Item 20, let's see. Under withdrawals, we have item 28, Trowbridge Land Holdings. Are there any other requests to withdraw?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add item 45.
All right, we have item 45, request to be withdrawn. Chair will entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion to withdraw, which includes item 45 by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Vice Chair Uten. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Under tablings, I would like to include item 21, and Chair will entertain a second.
Second.
We have a tabling of item 21 and a second by Commissioner Shelso. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I think I've got something else here. On the table list, I've got an untable. Yeah. Okay. So I've got, looks like we have an untabling of item, what item is that? Okay, there is no item. For Beeler Road subdivision, Chair will entertain a motion to untable items as read.
Motion on the table.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Phillips. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to the consent list. Any recusals? Seeing no recusals, I'll read. Next on the agenda is the consent list, which is composed of items marked with a C. These items are considered non-controversial and are voted on all at once in order to save time. Items are listed in order they appear on the agenda. Please listen carefully. Once an item is approved as part of the consent list, there will be no further discussion on it. And I'm going to say that twice. Once an item is approved as part of the consent list, there will be no further discussion on it. Item 3, approval of the May 11, 2023 minutes. Item 8, Zachary Tetley, Nexus Partners. Item 11, Gordon Smith. Item 12, Franco Iracos. Item 13, David Buckner. Item 14, 5117 Lonis Drive Subdivision. Item 15, Shannon Hills Subdivision. Item 16, 6702 Westland Drive. Item 19, Peter Doddsey. Item 22, City of Knoxville. Item 23, City of Knoxville. Item 24, Domingo Garcia. Item 25, Jack Smith. Item 30, Mayhew Subdivision. Item 34, KV Construction LLC, Ellistown Road. Item 36, Siddharth Shah. Item 38, Daniel Levy. Item 39, David Harbin. Item 40, Ron Whitaker. Item 41, Tom Paul Knoxville, LLC. Item 42, FSP Enterprise. Item 43, Knox County. Item 44, Knoxville, Knox County Planning. Are there any requests to remove any items from the consent list? We have item 30 to be removed from consent. Are there any other requests?
There goes Mike.
I had talked to somebody interested in speaking on number 19. Not sure if the person is here. Yeah.
Right, Peter D., number 19.
Uh-huh.
Peter Dadsey.
Uh-huh. Yes,
We'd ask that it be removed from the consent list.
thank you.
Kelly Thompson.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so we have item 19 and item 30 to be removed from consent list. Are there any other requests?
Motion
not-
to approve consent as read with the exception of items 30 and 19.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Shelso, to approve the consent list with the exception of 19 and 30. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now move to agenda item number 5. The applicant is Lisa Oliver. Right-of-way to be closed is Eaker Street, location between the northeast property line of parcel 109GE028 and its southern terminus. Applicant's reason for closure: the road has been a dead end for years. Staff recommendation: approve the request to close the portion of Eakers Road fronting parcel 109GE029, retaining all easements since the closure would not adversely affect surrounding properties. Is the applicant present? Do we have any opposition? Seeing no opposition, if you'll state your name and address, and you may proceed.
Hi, I've never been here before. Thank you all for your free service to our community. I just wanted to say I wanted to get both sides of the road right in front of the parcel ending in 29. I understand the logic of not getting 28. I just want to have it as additional parking because it's a great handicap parking for my mother, so that's why I'm trying to get it.
Thank you. Commissioner Phillips.
Motion to approve the request for closure per staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve per staff recommendation by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so it's been brought to my attention that I may have started at agenda item 3 on consent and may not have included item 2. So out of an abundance of caution, I would seek that we approve item 2 as a consent list item, the approval of the June 8, 2023 agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. On to agenda item 6. Thank you for clarifying. The applicant, University of Tennessee, right-of-way to be closed, Riverside Drive at Chris Road. Location between southwest corner of parcel 096-01104 and its southern terminus. Applicant's reason for closure to allow the University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture to better control and manage access to the site. It is the East Tennessee Agricultural Research and Education Center, the Holston unit. Staff recommendation: approve the request to close the portion of Riverside Drive from the southwest corner of parcel 096-01104 to where it meets Chris Road, then closing Chris Road in its entirety, subject to retaining all easements, since staff has received no objections and closure would not adversely affect surrounding properties. Is the applicant present?
Ethan Parker, Director, East Tennessee Ag Research and Education Center, including the Holston unit here. Our intent to close this down is security concern regarding students, research animals, staff, and faculty at the Institute. We've had multiple crimes and things committed all the way up to our front door of our office. We also have inhabitants that live there on the site to take care of the animals. So we want to basically close that road, put a gate there for security purposes, as well as cameras to monitor, just to keep us from basically having more crime. So,
All right. Do we have any opposition? All right. Commission?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request as submitted and approved by staff.
Second.
Do you have a question?
I did, because I don't know if it's relevant, but there was someone who was objecting to this and was asking to be added in online. That was a comment that I read. If
Ms.
they haven't-
Karen, do you have any information about that?
Yes, Michelle Porche was the one that was communicated with her as well. She's was going to be in the air, and at the
Yes.
outside chance that her plane was going to land possibly, hopefully, sometime around 3, but she did not request that we postpone if she couldn't make it. She was going to speak if she could.
Is everybody?
She had submitted questions through our public comments button for, that would be addressed to the applicant. I think she had tried to reach out.
she submitted those questions to us as well. And I can answer those if need be.
Why not? Sure.
So her first question was about regarding the turnaround. So she was worried her driveway would be turned around in if we close this off. Our intent is to use our property to create a full roundabout turnaround there, including 18-wheeler trucks, so we can prevent that for her. I think her second concern was around pedestrian access. The gate will be open during all operating business hours when we have staff present at the site, which will be the majority of hours from about 6 a.m. to about 6 p.m. every day, including some weekends, to allow pedestrians to walk. There's an eagle's nest there, and I think she was interested in that. Her third question actually escapes me, but I can pull it up actually.
I have it here. She was
Okay.
asking if a sign could be placed down the street to mitigate traffic, like a dead-end sign, but I don't know what constitutes that from the city's perspective, what criteria is required to put a dead-end sign on a street.
Yeah, we have no opposition to put a sign there talking about the fact that there's no outlet there and providing that turnaround, so.
All right, so we have a motion to approve per staff recommendation. Do we have a second? Okay. Commissioner Barger provided the second. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 7. Applicant Victor Jernigan. Location north of Sutherland Avenue and east of Victory Street. Approximate size of tract, 17,010 square feet. Present plan and zoning designation, MDRO, medium-density residential office, RN4, general residential neighborhood. Proposed plan designation, MUSD, MUCC21, Central City. Existing land use, single-family residential. There are a total of 3 potential motions. Motion number 1, deny the sector plan amendment to the MUSD, CC21 mixed-use special district, Sutherland North Side, land use classification because it does not meet the requirements for a land use amendment. Motion number 2, deny the one-year plan amendment to MUSD for the same reasons. Motion number 3, deny CG2 zoning district because it is an intensive encroachment into the residential area. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Garrett Jernigan.
Do we have any opposition? Seeing no opposition, you may proceed.
Okay. We feel we're trying to get, what we're trying to do with this property is maintain the residential use of the property to install 7 townhomes on the 17,000 square feet. And I had originally called down to MPC and spoke with Liz Albertson, who's no longer here. And during those discussions, I told her we were planning to come for rezoning, and that I wanted her help finding a zone that would allow for more creativity and some more flexibility on the lot, other than the RN4. And during our discussions, that's what led to her suggesting the extension of the MUSD and the rezoning to CG2 because it is a mixed-use zone. And we are so close to Sutherland Avenue, and the CG2 is an existing zone, and so is the MUSD. And she subsequently left MPC. And then I got a call from Ms. Hillman, and she said that staff had a different idea and wanted to deny. However, I believe that with all due respect, staff is leaning on some technical definitions of the extension of the MUSD and the CG2 zone. Sutherland Avenue has historically been a mixed-use district, all the way down to its intersection with I think it was at Westwood over there, and then all the way down to Paper Mill Drive. So this is a simple extension of the existing overlay and the existing zone that already exists in and around Victory Street. And so our plan is to use the CG2 as the mixed use. A portion of the mixed use is to keep it residential. And it allows us to bring the buildings closer to the street. I've handed out, you all should have this package that I left on your desk there. There's a site plan in the rear, is a kind of preliminary plan as to what we're proposing there, 7 townhomes. And the CG2, the design standards that we have for that and the dimensional standards allow for us to get that many units on the property.
Mr. Jernigan, would you care to give us your address, please?
Yes, sir. It's 5246 Bent River Boulevard, Knoxville 37919.
Thank you. All right, Commission. Commissioner Shelso.
Ms. Hillman, and maybe the applicant, there's one structure that appears to be on 2 different lots. Is that encroaching on yours?
That's an error on the GIS. We've had it surveyed, and they're on their property line.
Okay. So if this were RN4, that would be the only remaining structure?
That we don't own that property.
Well, it would be the only remaining structure on that block, right?
Yes.
After you demolish those.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that the majority of the properties that are on Victory Street, as short as it is, are non-owner occupied. So they are investment properties, and the university, or excuse me, the state owns the parking lot.
Ms. Hillman, then if there's only one house, a new residential structure, it's supposed to be set back what the average of the block face? So would we just go with that one house? Is that what the determination would be off of?
If that one's being demolished, that would be the defining one on the north side.
That's my question.
Commissioner Smith.
And this is a question more for staff. In the reason for denial, it stated that it's an encroachment and out of characteristic. How are 7 townhomes more encroaching on the neighborhood than right next door, the mobile home park, which has almost as many per the square footage?
Yeah, the development plan itself is not necessarily out of character with the area. The concern is all the potential uses that are possible with the commercial zoning, which include things like a drug treatment clinic, a halfway house, a music venue, liquor store. These kinds of uses would also be possible with that zoning. And those are the considerations we take, not specific development plans. Sorry for the feedback.
Commissioner Huber.
I guess just a follow-on question from Commissioner Smith. With the ones that you had mentioned, are those a use on review, or are they by right in CG 1 or 2, whichever we're looking at?
The townhome concept here would be permitted by right in the commercial zone. Is that the question?
Well, partially, but I guess more with you had mentioned substance abuse clinics and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Most of those are permitted by right. I can verify.
I guess I'll finish up
Yes.
too. But just in general, I mean, as I'm looking at it and seeing even where Division Street is, Victory Street is a very short street in general. If you take Victory Street all the way over to Division Street, you've got a large area owned by Knox County. It's zoned institutional. And then we've got CG again, CG1 on the corner of Division and Victory, and CG2 on the corner of Victory and Sutherland, and we're just kind of sandwiched in between with a type of a residential. I mean, I don't see any real issue with connecting the two down Victory Street personally.
Commissioner Roth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was thinking about this, and I asked this Tuesday, is there an alternative zone that would give them the ability to do these townhomes on this property without going to commercial? And I think the answer was there is not one. Is that correct?
So within the current land use classification of medium density residential office, residential zoning up to RN6 is permitted by right, can be considered, which permits by right multifamily and townhome development. However, there are setbacks and other considerations that do limit the development.
So in effect, there's not really an alternative other than having the commercial attached to it. Is that correct? With the setbacks, they wouldn't be able to do what they wanted to do. And I think it makes sense. I mean, it's going to stay as a residential area. And maybe we should have a zone that allows that, or they could get some variances for the setbacks or whatever in cases like this. But since there's not one, I think it makes sense. And I think we can get around there's things have not changed in the area. Things have changed in our entire county in the last 3 or 4 years with people moving here and the desire for housing. And we just watched a presentation Tuesday which talked about how far we're behind on the availability of units. So I'm in favor of this.
So you're saying it's a logical extension?
I think it is.
Commissioner Higgins?
Question for the applicant. Have you all considered multifamily, excuse me, multifamily instead of townhouses?
Well, on the first blush as to what we were trying to get proposed on the property, we looked at several different opportunities there. The main, we own this property, so the main goal is to keep it residential. Right now, Studio 4, they presented, I think, 3 different ideas as to what the property how it could work, and this is the one we settled on right now.
Okay. The reason I point that out or ask that is because under current zoning RN4, it would be permitted to do 5 townhouses or just ran the numbers and forgot 8 multifamily units. So you could actually get a higher density if you went with the multifamily direction here.
That is what you're saying is accurate per the way it reads. However, when you get down into the nitty gritty of the lot coverage ratios, the impervious surface, you can't get to 4-story units, or excuse me, 4-unit buildings on there.
Gotcha. And then if I understand correctly, the CG does not have any density requirements. Okay, that's all.
I didn't hear that last question. CG didn't have what?
It does not have any density requirements.
Commissioner Smith?
And this is more a question for our staff. Just, I think it was 2 agenda reviews ago, we had the city come in talking about the missing middle housing. This fits very much in character with that, and what I'm hearing is there's really nothing in the code that's going to help us in looking at these. So my recommendation is we probably need to go back to both to the city and really look at what might need to be added as they move down that route of looking at that missing middle housing. Because I think this is going to become more and more of a problem for this body without having that in place.
Commissioner Adams?
I'm trying to follow the comments about why you can't do what the applicant wants to do, because it sounds like it is permissible in the current zone if he came back and asked for variances for the setbacks. Is there anything beyond the setbacks that are the issue? Did I miss something?
So typically, a variance from the zoning ordinance requires some sort of hardship specific to the property. So they would have to provide some sort of rationale for that hardship.
It can't be economic. It can't be economic, an economic hardship.
I guess I'm hearing this not as an economic hardship, but one of the specific location is being problematic. It seems like everyone's kind of in favor of this being a residential development, which, and there have been a lot of reasons cited as to why. I don't think it's probably a good practice to say that because we have lots of people moving to the area that that's a change in character for every case that we hear. But I think that this seems like something that sounds really doable, except for this one distinction. But I'm not comfortable with changing it to commercial for the reasons that the planning staff noted. But I do think that it's a great, concept.
I think Commissioner Roth noted that his reasoning was a logical extension. Commissioner Shelso?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence with this one. I mean, I think, but at the same time, we keep talking about, well, this isn't possible with the current zoning, but townhomes are possible. You just can't cram 7 on them. So less is possible as it's currently zoned, and maybe RN6 could squeeze another one on there. But I'm on the fence, and I don't really know how I'd want to vote on this, and I don't want to make a motion, but someone just can't come up and say, well, I have this plan, I want to build a skyscraper. It's not possible. Well, yeah, it's not going to be possible most places. So, I mean, we need to make sure whether you lose a couple units on a proposed plan, doesn't mean it's not possible to develop the townhome still. So I think we need to keep that in mind. But and it is right next to CG2. There will only be one other residential house on this side of the block. So if that gets torn down and then there's townhomes, how much character of a residential block does that still retain, even if only 4 townhomes are put there? So maybe 7 would be fine because there's just one other house. So it's kind of, I keep going back and forth, but I think this is tough because, we've got other parts of the city. South Knoxville has a form-based code that would probably allow this many townhomes on it without having to be zoned commercial. And being zoned commercial also gives me quite a few worries with what could potentially sort of encroach into, some other homes over there. So this is a difficult one, I think.
Commissioner Higgins.
Just a couple of comments and one in response to Commissioner Smith's comment. But for example, she also just mentioned that maybe an RN6 could work, but even with an RN6, they could get the same amount of density, but RN6, to their point, has a more intense front setback of 25 feet, which in this case I think would kind of require a variance. But to your comment about some other tool for, and this is beyond this case, just kind of, I think this is a really good example for why we need another alternative. In a situation like this, it's kind of like this is a very good use plan, development plan, but it doesn't really seem to fit any of the zonings that we have. It also doesn't seem to really work for the criteria for a variance, but it also doesn't really work for a planned development, which would kind of allow some of these exceptions. So I do think, in thinking about the bigger picture opportunities, some way that we could take examples like this and say, yeah, it makes sense to get an extra unit here, or maybe this setback doesn't make sense in this case, and whether that's through this body or through staff, something other than the criteria of a variance, I think would be a really good tool to accomplish these goals that the city has set forward. So just throwing that out there, if maybe we could progress conversations like that.
Commissioner Adams.
Why does planned development not work?
Staff may have a better answer, but my answer would be the criteria for planned development requires a substantial neighborhood benefit among some other things. And I think it would be hard to say, I think this would create a neighborhood benefit, but to that extent of a substantial neighborhood benefit. But maybe planned development language, if it were toned down, could become an opportunity here. But
Planned development was really intended for projects that don't specifically fit anywhere into the code.
Isn't there an acreage requirement, a minimum acreage requirement for planned development?
In the county there
In the
is.
county.
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Hill.
With that,
Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chairman Hill, for recognizing me. I'm going to jump out there and make a motion to approve the sector plan amendment to MUSD CC 21, mixed use special district, Sutherland North Side.
Second.
I guess we need a reason, which is just a logical extension.
Logical extension being the reason? Okay. So we have a motion to approve the sector plan amendment per Commissioner Phillips' motion, and a second by Vice Chair Uten. Seeing no other light, we do have a light here. Vice Chair Uten?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make sure that everybody also looked at the zoning map to see that there's quite a bit of depth of CG2 up and down Sutherland Avenue, and even industrial, and even if we're taking a little bit of a risk on the zoning on the townhomes, I think new development down through here, with all the nasty stuff that's been going on over all those years, I think it's healthy for this part of town, and the more new development, the better, and hopefully this will be a catalyst to keep going. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Yes, sir. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain another motion.
Motion to approve one-year plan amendment to MUSD CC 21 mixed-use special district, Sutherland North Side.
Second.
We've got a motion to approve the one-year plan amendment per staff recommendation by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Vice Chair Uten. Go ahead. Oh, excuse me, not per staff recommendation. Let me start over. Okay, so we've got a motion to approve the one-year plan amendment to MUSD CC 21. Because
Logical extension.
all right.
Compliant with
And
the
then
second
we have a motion and a second, and I see no other lights. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to approve CG2, General Commercial Zoning District.
We have a motion by Commissioner Phillips to approve CG2, seconded by Vice Chair Uten. Seeing no other lights, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item 9, applicant Juan Hernandez, location north side of Valley View Drive, east of Fairway Road, west of Vera Drive. Approximate size of tract 1.54 acres. Present zoning RN1C, single-family residential neighborhood. Zoning requested RN4C, general residential neighborhood. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Staff recommendation is to approve RN2C, single-family residential neighborhood zoning because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development. Let's see here. Let's go to staff and talk about, just for the public, the C designation.
Yes, the C indicates a former planned district. This used to be RP1. And I should clarify from agenda review, we talked about how the standard density that could be considered there was 24 dwelling units per acre. That's true, but based on a former planning commission case, 2 lots down, it indicated that the density here was 12 dwelling units per acre. And so we will be administratively proposing that that be removed, that planned district designation be removed at the next planning commission meeting, because no development plan was ever submitted.
Okay, is the applicant present? State your name and address, please.
My name is Juan Hernandez, and I came to represent my client for 3507 Valley View Drive.
All right, do we have any opposition? We do have opposition. Would you like to go first or defer?
They could go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't sign in.
That's okay.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Jessica Boeck. I live at 3801 Valley View Drive, so two lots down. I also own the back parcel, which is 3803. I'm very much against this change. I view these as apartments. I do not want apartments. In addition, it is about, I'm concerned about the increased traffic on Valley View. Valley View already is 35 miles per hour, but people consistently go 40 and over. The lot is also up on a blind hill, so increased traffic is going to make it more difficult for people leaving. In addition to, I'm really concerned about the increased noise, and also there was no plan submitted, so I'm not sure, are they going to be 3-story buildings that are looking into my yard? If I wanted to live near apartments, and I would have bought a house closer to town. I bought this property and land because I wanted it to be quiet. It's an RN1 zone single family, and that's what I would like to keep it as, so thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys, I also did not sign in. Give me just 1 second. Sorry. Yes. So I'm Stephanie Soldano. I live at 3805 Valley View Drive, right next to Jessica, and I also own the extending back acre. Well, my family owns the extending back acre in the home. We currently have foundational issues, and there's 2 city basins that run connecting to her yard and our neighbor's yard, and then right next to it, an open channel. What I didn't know about this property when I bought it was that Whittle Springs is built atop springs, and after 40, 50 years, the way that they've done the zoning, they're starting to collapse, make caves, sinkholes. I already have one in my yard, and one that was fixed 2 years ago in the front yard. Again, my home is in serious need of foundation work, and I'm about to start it. I finally got contact with the city and the county about those basins and how they do the engineering for the stormwater and all of that. And I have to start work in my home before they can do the maintenance for that whole side of the street. So everybody's house already receives water and flooding every time it rains. My house personally gets the river, or the run back from the street right now because of all the backflow and the lack of maintenance of that whole area. So my concern, aside from noise and privacy, is the fact that if you do anything groundbreaking in any surrounding areas, it could make more sinkholes and also create more downhill problems, for everybody that lives on that side of the street. Because again, my house is already currently flooding in every rain. And it's because of those city basins that the stormwater engineers of the county, they're supposed to maintain them, but it's been years since they've done it. And, a lot of those homes are old. So I think that starting an uphill property establishment that's beyond what we already have is also, again, without a plan, definitely a no on my vote and the vote of the family. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Blake Stapleton. I live at 3303 Gary Road, which is 1 minute down the street from this property. I also have access to use the 22.95 acres that are attached to the back of this property, and I use it for outdoor activities and things like that. My main concern with any development along that ridge is the impact it'll have on wildlife, as well as increased traffic, noise, and other things, and apartment buildings and things like that invite crime to the area as well. I just moved from Barton Street, which is just 5 minutes down closer to Broadway. I moved over to this area to get away from the homeless people, the drugs, and the crime, and I don't want that coming back this way, so I'm totally against any development anywhere near that ridge. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
We are not building any apartments. What we plan to build on there is maybe 3 units of 6, well, 3 buildings of 6 duplexes, single story. When we build, we plan to, I guess, build the French drains for proper water flow and everything, to keep everything where it is. The RN2 provides 10,000 square feet for each building, so that's plenty of landscape area for the water to be consumed by the dirt. And we don't plan to actually remove any of the trees in the backside. We only plan to use what's actually available now. That front side, it's about, give or take, 300 feet from the street on to the back. We might remove a little bit in the front just to be able to build that third duplex, but nothing more.
Thank you. Commission? Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chairman Hill. I think the staff's recommendation is accurate and correct, and I would make a motion to approve RN2 single-family residential neighborhood per staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Huber. And Commissioner Higgins.
Thank you. Quick question, the applicant. So RN2, does that work with your request? Because the original request was RN4.
Yes, it works. We got plenty of space in the property line and meets what's clear.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Oh, no, do we have a line here? Oh, no, we don't. Ms. Porcher?
Just a point of clarification, so the RN2 zone only allows one primary structure on the lot, so you would have to subdivide to put an additional structure there. You've got 100-foot of road frontage, so you'd only be able to add one extra lot under RN2. I just wanted to be sure that you were aware you would only be able to do 2 primary structures on the property.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear most of what.
So, go ahead, Ms. Porcher, if you want.
Well, I'm seeing my colleagues disagree with me, so maybe I'll let them speak.
Well, as Ms. Porcher mentioned, your lot frontage could potentially limit your number of units. If you're in the RN2 zone, if you want to build a duplex, you do need 10,000 square feet, and there is a minimum lot width, I believe it's 50 feet wide. In order to build more than 2 duplexes, you would need to provide a different type of access, like a shared permanent access easement or something onto the site. As she mentioned, you'd have to replat the property as well to create the lots, but there could be a potential for more than just 2 if you create alternative access.
Yeah, what we plan to do is build a driveway on the right side of it to access the back units, and maybe that will cut us maybe 20 feet wide. That'll give us about 80 feet before that initial property, and I think we could work with that, manage a good set of house plan or a duplex plan to build on there.
Mr. Hernandez, I just want to clarify, are you requesting RN4 or RN2?
I requested initially RN4, but we could work with the RN2.
Okay. Commissioner Higgins.
Just to make sure we're clear, so under RN2, theoretically they would only be able to do 2 duplexes?
Try this one, okay. They could do an access easement and not have the road frontage on the initial 2 lots, assuming that the lot's definitely deep enough. So yeah, I'm sorry for the confusion.
And that would require replatting into 3 different parcels to do more than, or to do 3 if that's their goal?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Are you familiar with the platting process? Do you have a surveyor working on this project already?
To subdivide the lots? Yeah, we wanted to avoid that because it's a long process, and if we have to, we'll go that route.
Okay. Does RN3 allow for more than 1 principal use structure? With that, I would really recommend that we, I don't know if we can actually go with the different zoning, but I think that RN3 would be a lot more appropriate for just the practicality of actually accomplishing any.
Which RN?
RN3.
RN3.
That would just be 1 up from RN2, and it would allow them to not have to go through a potentially very complicated process to subdivide this into multiple parcels. So, if the current motion were to fail and if it were allowed, I would make that recommendation or that motion.
So, Mr. Hernandez, are you okay requesting RN3?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. And we probably need to ask our motion person, which is Commissioner Phillips, right? If he would be willing to amend his motion.
Chairman Hill, if I could just ask a question, if you don't mind. And this is a staff question. In RN2, are you building one-story or two-story buildings?
1 story.
Okay, it should be fine then, right? Because you can't, and if I understand RN3 right, they have to be one level, they can't be a townhome. Is that correct in RN3?
RN3 does allow townhomes in addition to duplex and single family with a maximum height of 35 feet.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Adams.
Question 1, I think it'd be good to hear why planning staff might not have suggested RN3. And question 2, if we are to move ahead with a motion that's considering RN3, how is that not spot zoning?
Those are good questions, and we'll go to staff.
So RN3 is, can be considered within the sector plan land use classification, so it would not be spot zoning for that reason. We recommended RN2 to be more consistent with the existing residential form along Valley View Drive, which is fairly large lots that are single family.
Commissioner Higgins. Good. Okay. So Commissioner Phillips has made a motion for RN2. Correct, Commissioner Phillips?
That's correct.
Okay, and we have a second by Commissioner Huber. And I see no other lights. So all in favor for RN2, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
All right, looks like we've got 4 noes.
I had,
Do you need a roll call, Ms. Karen?
yes, please.
Okay, let's call the roll.
Thank you. Commissioner Eaton?
No.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Heber?
Yes.
Commissioner Scelto?
No.
Commissioner Perez? Is that a yes? I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you. She said yes. Commissioner Browning?
Yes.
Commissioner Higgins?
No.
Commissioner Levinson?
No.
Commissioner Adams? Yes. Commissioner Roth?
No.
Commissioner Barger?
No.
Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
I have 6 yes and should be 7 noes.
We have what? 6 yeses?
6 yes and 7 no.
Okay, motion fails. Chair will entertain another motion.
I'd like to make a motion to rezone as RN3.
Second.
We have a motion to rezone as RN3 by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Roth. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No Phillips,
We have
no.
we have 2 noes, Commissioner Adams and Commissioner Phillips.
No Phillips, no Adams, so that would be 11-2. We have 13.
Motion carries.
Yes, I'm sorry, 11-2.
I'm sorry?
Yep, 11 yes, 2 no.
Motion carries 11-2. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you.
Is there a way to appeal your decision?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll automatically go on to city council. You don't need to appeal. You can bring your concerns to city council and they can change or approve it, not approve it, whatever.
Great, thank you.
Item 20, applicant, commercial site design. Oh. Getting ahead of myself here.
19.
I'm missing 19. Okay. All right. Item 19, applicant, Peter Dodsey. Location, north side of Western Avenue, east of Menders Avenue. Approximate size of tract, 0.69 of an acre. Zoning is CH1, highway commercial. Existing land use, commercial. Proposed use, nightclub. Staff recommendation is to approve the request for the nightclub with approximately 3,000 square feet of floor area in the CH1 highway commercial zoning district, subject to the 5 conditions. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
If you'll state your name and address, please, after you sign in.
Peter Dazzy.
Do we have any opposition?
Yes.
And what is your address, Mr. Doddsey?
2553 Western Avenue.
Thank you. All right, would you like to go first, Mr. Doddsey, or would you
Ladies
like
first.
the
Ladies
opposition?
first. Ladies first.
Okay.
My name is Kelly Thompson, and I represent 2562 Western and R&K LLC. They operate a distribution facility which is across the street and on the corner from the proposed nightclub. They purchased this property in 2011 and operate a distribution facility there during the day. With the change of Western Avenue at that intersection, TDOT took part of the front of 2562's property and put the lot directly there and created some additional parking for our employees, which is across the street from this facility. And our concerns are a nightclub is like sticks out in terms of everything else that's around that area. It's a light industrial area. Our facility operates during the day. They don't have a fence, security, a gate, and they feel like allowing a special use exception to allow a nightclub to operate there could increase potential for theft and vandalism and additional people coming over and using our parking area. The proposed location, there's less than 25 parking spaces at that facility, and so that's why we oppose it.
Thank you.
That was very brief. Can I go ahead?
Sure.
I'm so glad I see Mr. Logan over there. You're welcome to the panel anyway. Well, Your Honor, I think this proposed use is not going to affect that property across the street because let's take a look at the property one more time. The property is on this side, and my neighbor property is kind of far away from it. So, and the kind of nightclub we are going to put over there is not a nightclub per se. You know, it's like an African setting where the African comes around once in a while, come up, we all sit down and enjoy it ourselves. It's not like where we're going to have an overflow of people all on the street. No, it's just to, get our African culture on where we can enjoy ourselves every once in a while. Yes, we understand. Sometimes we go to other nightclubs, the way they party and stuff like that, it's a little bit different from what we do. So we want to enjoy the taste of Africa. So we're bringing it closer to that neighborhood. It's not like a huge traffic of people all over the street, Your Honor. I would love that you can vote and approve that for me. I would really appreciate it.
All right. Commissioner Adams.
I have a question about what happens with a special use, if for some reason this club special use went away after a year. Does the special use persist, or does a new owner then come back and ask for the special use again?
They'd have to, someone else could come and buy his business and operate it exactly how he had presented it to you all. Yes, and that would continue. It wouldn't vary by ownership unless they were wanting to do something different than a nightclub.
Okay, so nightclub owner A can leave, and then nightclub owner B can come back, and there's no special use seen again. But as long as it's a nightclub, it will persist.
And it meets all the conditions approved by this body, yes.
And if they expand, would it have to go back through special use?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Commissioner Shelso.
Move to approve the special use of a nightclub.
Second.
Per staff recommendation.
All right. We have a motion to approve per staff recommendation by Commissioner Shelso, seconded by Commissioner Perez. Seeing we have a light, Commissioner Higgins.
I just want to comment because I'm in favor of that. And just to clarify any potential concerns, my firm in an earlier, before we changed our company name, had done the original architecture for this building. We have not been retained in any way for this use, and so I feel no need to recuse myself or anything like that.
we'll accept that disclosure. Seeing, well, we have Commissioner Eddie Smith.
I want to go back to Commissioner Adams' question because I understand why it was answered the way it was, but what he proposed was, even though it falls under the classification of nightclub, what he proposed is not necessarily as intense as what we might consider a nightclub. So you're saying that what he's proposed, which is something a little different, because what he stated just now about what their intent of using it, yes, it technically falls under the nightclub code, but it's less intensive than, say, a traditional nightclub that may have loud parties, lots of, overflow, which is the question that Commissioner Adams was asking, because operator B could come in and it could be a more traditional nightclub compared to what they might be operating initially. Correct?
Yes. But, I mean, we have noise ordinances and things of that nature that. Okay, seeing no other lights, all in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, do I get to go to 20 now? Agenda item 20, applicant, commercial site design, Sambatech PC NC, owner, Cookout Powell Inc., location east side of North Broadway, north side of Edgewood Avenue. Approximate size of tract, 0.78 of an acre. Staff recommendation is to approve the proposed drive-through facility for a restaurant subject to the noted 8 conditions. Is the applicant present?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Do we have any opposition? Okay, if you'll state your name and address, and then if you want to proceed, or you can defer to the opposition.
I'll go ahead and let the opposition present first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Should I fill this out first?
Go ahead, yes.
Okay, thank you, sorry. Thank you for letting me speak with you today. I wrote down what I wanted to say so I wouldn't get off track. There are so many fast food places on Broadway within a very tight region, located near the spot where this cookout restaurant would be placed are already a KFC, a Wendy's, a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Subway, a Taco Bell, a Crystal, a Sonic, and I'm sure I'm leaving something out. Living in our neighborhood, we smell grease in the air on hot days. We constantly pick up trash from fast food places off our lawns, and we wake up most nights to the sound of dumpsters being dumped. I'm sure that some of these restaurants have something to do with the significant local rodent population. And of course, there's also the traffic issue, which a lot of the public commentary focused on. It's already so busy on the western end of Edgewood, which is the Broadway end, that a lot of the families on that end who have little kids have placed big, tall fences up to keep their children safe from the road. And I think that another piece of this that hasn't been raised in the public comments, which I would like to address, because I live on Claiborne Place, which is the only egress for anyone, if traffic is tied up on Edgewood for any number of reasons, Claiborne Place becomes the next outlet. And Claiborne Place is just a little tiny street. It was built before any of the houses on that street had indoor plumbing, let alone cars. And the city allows parking on both sides of the street. And so when there's 2 cars coming in opposite directions, it gets really crowded really fast. And I've seen fistfights on that street with people getting out of their cars to scream at each other about who's got the right of way and stuff like that. So the idea of, increasing the congestion on Edgewood in ways that might bring more traffic to Claiborne Place is it's not good, I think. And I think a lot of people would agree with me that the city's general lack of vision for much of Broadway has resulted in a depressing several-mile stretch of check cashing places and title loan offices and lots of fast food restaurants. Meanwhile, there are lovely small businesses of all kinds, very necessary ones, laundromats and places to get your brakes worked on, grocery stores, gyms, record stores, and, you know, big national chains who don't care, don't have to care actually about Knoxville and the people who live in the neighborhood. I really, in my opinion, that's not the way to redevelop the neglected and empty properties on that stretch of road. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Applicant?
Thank you for your time today. My name is Michael Hicks, representing Cookout. Along with me today also is Daniel Moore with Wolf and McClure. As our team, we're the civil engineer of record, our team is, and we've been working with staff on this project. Really appreciate staff and their feedback that they've given to this project on this case. And we're amenable to all the conditions that have been listed by staff to incorporate into our design, which would actually bring down the parking than what we've previously proposed. We are adding generous amounts of landscaping and privacy fencing as part of this project as well, incorporating, you know, actually stormwater management. And I wanted to bring this up. This site does have a lot of encumbrances on it. We've worked really diligently here to not have the building within the floodplain. So we've, you know, got that on the table. Also, we've reduced impervious to this project, and we're incorporating stormwater management, both water quality and piping detention with our project. So all that kind of summed up here, we're really excited about bringing this project to the community here, and you know, and be open for any questions you may have specific further on the project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commission. Commissioner Shelso.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I think that this is a pretty good site plan and a good example of CG2 and adhering to the Build 2 zone lines that we currently have. The site plan accommodates the pedestrian intent of that code by adding that patio that I know has been worked on. So I think this is a good example, and I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the drive-through facility special use subject to the conditions and staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, so we had a motion by Commissioner Commissioner Shelso, seconded by Commissioner Barger to approve per staff recommendation. I was getting some clarification here on the Build 2 line here. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve. We still have some lights here. Commissioner Adams.
Yeah, I wanted to say I mostly agree with Commissioner Shelso and do think that the staff have worked out the best solution that they can, and I appreciate the applicant's collaboration with them. I just can't support this because of the location and its connection to the residential neighborhood here. So it's not a critique of the work that staff has done or anything like that. I just wanted to articulate that's why I won't be supporting it.
All right, seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 26, the applicant, Roy Anderson and Stephen Paget. Location southeast side of Raccoon Valley Drive, east of Raccoon Woods Road. Approximate size of tract, 12.5 acres. Present Zoning is agricultural, zoning requested, planned residential, existing land use, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Density proposed, 5 dwelling units per acre. And the staff recommendation is to approve the planned residential zone with up to 3.5 dwelling units because it is consistent with the sector plan designation and the surrounding development, subject to one condition. Is the applicant present? You'll state your name and address, please.
Stephen Paget. My address is 211 Stone Breeze Drive, Powell, Tennessee.
Thank you. Do we have any opposition? Seeing no opposition, you may proceed.
We intend to do some townhomes here on about 12 acres of the 16.5 acres. And so in order to do the development and do the townhomes, 5 per acre really is kind of a break even that we need to see. If we leave the 4.5 acres up on the top of the ridge, because it goes up the ridge to the top, if we leave that forested and just put some walk paths up there, could we do 5 on the 12 below? So basically go above the 3.5 in the 12 that we develop and leave the 4 above. I'm sorry, 12 on the and 4.5 above. We might not even be able to get 4.5. We might have to only do 11 acres. It depends on the cost analysis of the rock and all. There's a lot of big rock in that area.
Ms. Porche, would you like to address that? I think that was in form of a question.
I guess, are you asking for us to increase it to 5 based on the fact that you wouldn't be disturbing the land? Is that what I'm hearing?
I was in my pre-meeting with the lady from the planning. I was told a word clustering was the word that was used, that there may be permission to cluster, so go above 3.5 on the flat land we want to develop if we don't develop other land on that strip, that lot, that overall 16.5 acres.
So the PR zone allows clustering just naturally. It's not something that you would need to seek permission for. So I guess the recommendation from me, from staff, is to leave that undisturbed area and then put 3.5 on the whole thing, understanding that that undeveloped section, the density that would be allowed there would be added to that section. So you'd get 3.5 over the whole property, even though what you only develop would yield a higher result than the 5, if that makes sense. But so our recommendation is the 3.5 overall. So I think you're, I guess, making your case for why you would need the 5 for over the whole thing.
I'm deaf. Sorry, I'm trying to read your lips.
Okay.
Were you saying we could take those others and put it in the front on the area we were developing if we left that undeveloped?
Yes. So the PR zone just inherently allows you to cluster the lots in the homes, so that you would leave that part undeveloped. So if the total property is, we have it noted, I think, is 12.5, I think. So if you get 3.5 over the 12.5 dwelling unit, acreage, whatever that number is, it yields, you get to put that many houses or lots on the flat property.
Understood.
If that makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve per staff recommendation.
We have a motion
Second.
to approve per staff recommendation by Commissioner Barger, seconded by Vice Chair Uten. Commissioner Huber.
I guess I just was looking for a clarification on the density as well, just to make sure that we got you covered here. So the total, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Porche, the total amount of acreage is 16.5, is that correct?
I just had it surveyed, and that's what it came back. So I'm not sure if it's not been updated yet. I'm not sure. But so that's what I'm going off of is the survey. Whatever the case is, that section that goes up the ridge, we're not developing it.
Right.
So even if it scales smaller, the same question applies. Can we take the section that we're not developing and use those instead?
Right. Yeah, I follow what you're saying, but do you know roughly how many units you're trying to develop on the property now total?
Assuming that I can do 9 acres behind and 3 acres up front, which is what I'm planning, I would see under 56. So 55, they would be about 1,600 square foot townhomes not stacked with garages in between them. About 3 per section.
Right, so you're looking at a total of about 56 units. So I guess I just want to be clear with the motion and how the staff's got it written up, that the 3.5 units is over the entire 16.5 acres, not the 12.5 that's referenced a couple of times in the staff recommendation. Is that?
The number that we use is based off of KGIS data. It's not based off of a survey. So if he's got something that says 16 feet and it's the entire parcel, then that would be the correct number. So we've not excluded anything. We've not excluded the hillside area. It's just a function of the KGIS.
Very good. I just wanted to make sure and make it clear that he can have up to 56 or so units. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 27, applicant Trowbridge Land Holdings LLC, owners Billy Jane H. Kelly, trustees. Location south side of Pillow Road, west of Norris Freeway. Approximate size of tract 40.05 acres. Present zoning agricultural, zoning requested, planned residential, existing land use, rural residential, agricultural, forestry, vacant land. Density proposed 5 dwelling units per acre. And our staff recommendation is approve the planned residential zone with up to 3.5 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan designation and with the surrounding development subject to one condition. Is the applicant present? The applicant is remote. Do we have any opposition? Seeing no opposition, if we can get our applicant remotely. You may, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Yes, Brad Davis, 12236 Stonehouse Lane, Knoxville, 37934.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Yes, we reviewed the staff report. Everything looks good on our end, and we're comfortable with the recommendation.
Commission.
Motion to approve PR Plan Residential per staff's recommendation.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Browning to approve per staff recommendation. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 31. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. All right. It looks like I'm making a mistake. That's okay. I'll get you back. All right. Item number 30. Subdivision, Mayhew Subdivision, applicant developer, Homestead Land Holdings. Location, northeast side of Old Clinton Pike, south of Pocatello Lane, north of Emma Grace Way. Approximate acreage, 7.87 acres. Zoning, planned residential, pending. Existing land use, multifamily residential. Proposed use, attached residential subdivision. Number of lots, 47. And there are no variances. And we do have some alternative design standards required. And is the applicant present? Let's see here.
Yes, Russ Rackley, Rackley Engineering here representing Homestead Land Holding, P.O. Box 30456, Knoxville 37932.
Any opposition? Seeing no opposition, if you'd like to proceed. I didn't see any opposition.
Who took it off consent?
Okay.
I said, who took it off consent?
Oh, okay.
Should have never been on consent, sorry.
It should have not been.
Right, it was just a error.
Okay. All right. Commission?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the requested alternative design standards per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Roth to approve alternative design standards per staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Phillips. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the concept plan subject to 6 conditions.
Second.
We have a motion to approve. Am I missing? Yep. Okay. All right. We have a motion to approve the requested, which one are we approving here? Approve the concept plan subject to 6 conditions. Is that right? Okay, and we had a second by Commissioner Phillips. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve the development plan per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion to approve for staff recommendation on the development plan for up to 47 attached dwelling units by Commissioner Rawl, seconded by Commissioner Phillips. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Got me off the rhythm. Agenda item 31, subdivision Cruise Farms, applicant developer Urban Engineering, Inc., location south side of Hardin Valley Drive, south of Brighton Farms Boulevard, approximate acreage 31.1 acres. Zoning is planned residential, existing land use, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land, and proposed use is attached residential subdivision. Number of lots, 62. We do have 2 variances and some alternative design standards. Looks like 3 motions are required here. Motion 1, approve the requested variances and alternative design standard based on the justification provided by the applicant and recommendations of Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works. Motion 2, approve the concept plan subject to 8 conditions. Motion 3, approve the development plan for an attached residential subdivision with up to 62 dwellings on individual lots, subject to the noted 2 conditions. The applicant present.
Yes, Chris Sharp, Urban Engineering, 10330 Hardin Valley.
Do we have any opposition? Seeing no opposition, Mr. Sharp, you may proceed.
We reviewed the staff recommendations. We have no problem with those.
All right. Commission?
Motion to approve the requested variances and alternative design standards per staff's recommendation, Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Roth, to approve the requested variances and alternative design standards per staff recommendation. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to approve the concept plan subject to 8 conditions.
Second.
Motion to approve the concept plan subject to 8 conditions by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Roth. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to approve the development plan per staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Roth, to approve the development plan per staff recommendation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I'm next.
Okay.
too.
Okay. All right. Agenda item 32. Subdivision, Maya Hills, applicant developer, Urban Engineering, Inc., location south side of Hardin Valley Drive, southwest of Brook Willow Boulevard, approximate acreage, 28.41 acres. Zoning is planned residential, existing land use, single-family residential, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Proposed use, attached residential subdivision, number of lots, 55. Subdivision variances, none, and we do have alternative design standard. Staff recommendation, this will require 3 motions. Approve the requested alternative design standard based on justification provided by the applicant and recommendations of the Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works. Motion 2, approve the concept plan subject to 6 conditions. And motion 3, approve the development plan for an attached residential subdivision with up to 55 dwellings on individual lots, subject to the noted 2 conditions. Mr. Sharp?
Chris Sharp, 10330 Hardin Valley.
Thank you. Do we have opposition? Would you like to proceed or defer?
I'll defer, please.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Wilkins at 1928 Hickory Glen Road, 37932. I live in the cul-de-sac that this portion backs up into. So my lot is lot 10, which is actually across the street from the cul-de-sac up there. There are the houses that do abut the property. 3 of the residents there are out of town that wanted to be here, and they were very vocal and involved in the last attempt to develop this property, but were independently out of town and unable to be here. So I have 3 children, all in the Hardin Valley school system. Next year they will be the 8th, 10th, and 12th grade, and they've all grown up through the schools. I'm intimately aware and familiar with that stretch of the land and also the property behind our subdivision there. I have 3 concerns that I wanted to raise today. Number 1 is about the traffic, and it's not the volume of traffic that will be added to the road. I'm aware that engineering designs have said that the road can handle more volume. My concern is the location of the entrance and exits of these 2, the prior development and this one, directly across from the school. So we have 55 units right here, and if you look at where the entrance to the high school is, and then further down is where the elementary school is, and so we have 55 units coming in here, 60 units in the prior development just feet down the road. And so my concern is the volume of entrance and exits directly across from the school system, particularly since this unit will be within the walking zone. All these units will be within the walking zone to the schools. All 3 of my kids have been walking to school for several years. So that's the concern I wanted to raise. There is 1 pedestrian crossing further down toward the elementary school, or it's at the high school, but further down that way. This would absolutely require at least 1 or more pedestrian crossings, which is in the plan, but I just wanted to raise the importance of that. If you travel down Cedar Bluff Road, and you can see the number of crossings that they've put across the schools there, we're approaching that need here. I do not think there's a need to impede traffic generally, because I think that would be a problem, but certainly there's a need for more pedestrian crossings, particularly if we have 120 more units entering those 2 parcels of land right there. Secondly, I just wanted to raise the issue of the hillside protection area. Their proposal states that there's going to be 7.2 acres that will be disturbed in the hillside protection area, and I just would like for you all to consider that the hillside protection policy is there not to be ignored, and would ask that you all recognize the desire to minimize the infraction on the hillsides. Third, and really this is the one that I would like for you all to consider most, is the impact on the existing developments around this parcel. So our subdivision is up on top of the hill, and so all of these houses look down on what's now a field, but will be these developments. And there is provided in the plan, I think, a 30 or 35-foot buffer zone, which if you were to step off that amount, it really isn't that great of a distance. What I would request, particularly since the general development plan, policy is not to impact the existing neighborhoods and communities, and it's to provide, it says, deeper setbacks, wider lots, and landscape buffers shall be provided where new development abuts lower density housing. So this property is abutting lower density housing, and so especially since we are up on the hill looking down on this development with their units will have a maximum height of 35 feet, we would request a motion to require extended buffer zone and a requirement for tall vegetative buffering within that zone to separate the lower density housing from the higher density housing that we're going to be looking down on. not metaphorically, but physically. So that's, those are the three concerns I would like for you all to consider as you listen to the developer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins.
I'll do my best to address those concerns. I guess as far as the pedestrian crossing, I don't disagree that one is probably needed, but this is a bad location. Typically, mid-block crossings are frowned upon. I know there's one closer to the school. But I think, maybe there may be an opportunity somewhere closer to the entrance to the school, but this is a bad location. It's coming out of a curve. And, I don't know if that's in the school zone, but if it's not, then I would certainly recommend that if one is installed, that it's installed, definitely well within the school zone where vehicles have slowed, theoretically. As far as the hillside protection, I thought we were pretty responsible in our design. There was an initial proposal with single-family lots, larger single-family lots, and we chose to cluster the development just for that reason and to limit grading costs. So I can't remember one site of this and the last one. One of them had 70% open space reserved, and the other one was 77 or something. They're pretty high numbers, so I'm not really sure what else we can do in that regard. But with that, I'll answer any questions you have, or I'll attempt to.
Commission? Commissioner Huber.
So I see that there's a traffic impact study that got done. Director Snowden, have you guys had a chance to review that and opine on it?
We have, and we concurred with the recommendations of their traffic engineer, Mr. Jacks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Adams.
Could you repeat your answer about how you would handle the landscape buffer?
We're leaving, a large percentage of the existing vegetation in place.
How does that equate to the opposition's concern about specifically 35 feet to expanded buffer? Can you speak to that?
The section that abuts I don't know how far we are from our limits of disturbance, but it's a long ways from where he lives.
Do you know how deep those lots are by chance?
These lots?
Right.
I think they're 120.
Okay, so if you got 120 on one side and 120 for 240 and then 50 feet for the roadway, correct? So you're 200, you're less than 300 feet total from one side of the property line to the other. On KGIS, the only reason I'm bringing this up is I just scaled it on KGIS and the property's over 800 feet wide in that section.
Right.
So you're maybe 400 feet of buffer.
Right.
Commissioner Shelso.
Mr. Snowden, what would be the process of a new pedestrian crossing near a school in terms of getting a new one implemented?
This location, it is in a horizontal curve, so sight distance is not the most ideal situation. We did install a crossing there at that location that is highlighted on the screen there, just west of that second high school entrance. That location is inside the reduced speed school zone. We also installed activated flashers for it, and as you can see, the roadway's in a very straight, good sight distance location. I would be very leery of installing an at-grade crossing at the location throughout this curve, just because of the fact it's outside the school zone. It has limited visibility, so it would be something I would have some concerns about installing a pedestrian crossing at this location.
What if it were a little further? And just looking, when you zoom out at the school, that current crosswalk definitely would collect anyone walking from the west, right? But when you go east, would there be a potential for one on the other side of that school access right there? I guess, what would be the process of putting that in place? Is that neighborhood driven?
Yeah, I mean, I think the school speed limits reduction signs near that, where that you can kind of see that new construction there to the north. I mean, I think if there was to be a new speed or new crossing, we would want to see activated flashers on it. I mean, and as well as, signage and appropriate markings. So, I mean, I think that would be the location if you wanted to have another one that would be a little closer, would be the optimal spot rather than the one in front of the development.
Commissioner Roth.
I'd like to make a motion we approve the requested alternative design standards for staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Roth, seconded by Commissioner Browning, to approve the requested alternative design standard based on the justification provided by the applicant and recommendations of the Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion we approve the concept plan for staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the concept plan subject to six conditions by Commissioner Roth, seconded by Commissioner Browning. Seeing no other lights, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion we approve the development plan for an attached residential subdivision per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the development plan for an attached residential subdivision up to 55 dwellings on individual lots, subject to the two noted conditions by Commissioner Roth, seconded by Commissioner Browning. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Agenda item 33, subdivision, Rainier Valley, applicant developer, North Shore Construction, Inc. Location, northwest side of East Emory Road, northeast of Palmyra Drive, approximate acreage, 3.6 acres, zoning plan residential, existing land use, agricultural, forestry, and vacant. Proposed use, attached residential development, number of lots 12, looks like one variance, and we have alternative design standards. We have three potential motions. Motion number one, approve the requested variance and alternative design standards based on the justification provided by the applicant and recommendations of Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works. Motion two, approve the concept plan subject to six conditions. Motion three, approve the development plan for up to 12 detached dwellings on individual lots and the reduction of the peripheral setback from 35 feet to 25 feet subject to the two conditions. Applicant present.
Yeah, Garrett Tucker with Robert Campbell and Associates on behalf of the applicant, 7523 Taggart Lane, Knoxville.
Have any opposition? We do have opposition. I'm assuming you want to defer, Mr. Tucker?
I'll defer.
Okay.
Let me sign in real quick.
If you need to pull that mic toward you or lower the podium, you're welcome to do so.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to speak today. What I'm going to be saying is mostly based on emotion, so please bear with me. My biggest request currently is to see as much of the natural beauty of the area remains. The far right side of the new development property line borders my home. I am at 4823. I'm the last home on the top right there. From the front of my house to the back of my house, we see trees upon trees upon tree. We sit in our backyard most evenings enjoying the wildlife that lives in those trees while enjoying the beauty of the countryside. There are some beautiful, huge oak trees on that property that I would hate to see destroyed. Charlie the owl lives in those trees, and we hear him hooing every night. I'm teased all the time because I have names for all the birds. We purchased our home 10 months ago because of the nature that surrounded our home. To lose this would be devastating to us emotionally, and it will indeed reduce the property value of my home. My other concern is the storm pond that will be constructed for proper drainage. My hope is that this will be placed farther away from my property line than originally planned. And my concern is that that it is done meeting all necessary requirements to be successful. I have a lot of drainage issues in my home, so drainage is a big problem, and I'm very concerned about that. The contractor and the developer were very gracious this morning to contact me and allow me to walk the property with them. This plan that we're looking at is different than what it was when I signed up to oppose for it. And I'm much more happy to see what I see here. I'm sorry about the feedback. And I have a lot less concern. There were going to be homes, backyards up against my house before. So I'm very happy to see this, but there is a lot of natural area that's remaining to the right of all the dwellings, and that's my biggest concern is what's going to be done in that area. After speaking to the contractor and the developer, I do feel confident that our concerns are going to be addressed. They have mentioned that they will be trying to leave as much of the land untouched as possible and move the pond as far in towards the development as possible. I appreciate this very, very much, but I did want to come out and be heard today, so my concerns were on record, because there's a lot of area there, and I don't know exactly what their plan is to do with it, and I'm just really hoping that they keep it as natural as possible.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you so much.
I think we have one other in opposition, Mr. Tucker.
Hi, I'm Sherry Roop. I live at 7600 Old Maynardville Pike. My property on this map would be above the development, and we actually have 2 dwellings and a business on that property. Beyond our house is a creek, and we do have flooding, of course, in that area. So again, my concern is proper care of any runoff that will come. The property is basically rock, which is, they'll tell you one reason their plan changed. So where the buildings are being built is basically the non-rock area, which would have been the area that would have absorbed water before. So now that's being covered. So again, I'm concerned it's going to add to the water flow. Was at the meeting this morning, very happy with their comments about possible changes. My concern is that the detention pond area is also just rock. So I'm not a contractor, but I would think they'd have to bring in some sort of permeable dirt or something to absorb the water that comes off of there. And I just want to be sure that it's adequate for the water that's coming off of the development. To the northeast of my property is a development of condos that was built approximately 20 years ago. There essentially is no detention pond for it. And the front part of my property, which was, I accepted was in a flood zone because there's a creek down there. The flooding area has gotten closer to my home. So I feel like we're kind of being used as a catch basin for that development, and I don't want to see that happen again. I'm also happy to see more trees left on the property, and again, was very happy to discuss all that with the developer this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tucker?
Yes, we met this morning and walked the site with the neighbors here and looked at the trees, and we feel like we can move the pond out and preserve a lot more of the vegetation. This plan that we had here with the rock that was present on the site, it just couldn't be done with that. And so our plan is to go locate the rock features, the rock outcroppings, locate the trees, especially the larger ones, and to design around that and come up with, as we know, this is just a concept plan. Our our next step will be to do the design plan, which will include the stormwater. And so we're going to look at minimizing the disturbance, because the more we disturb, the more it's going to cost, the more impact it's going to be. And so the more trees you cut, that's expensive. So our goal is to save as much of the vegetation as we can, and of course to avoid the rock, and come up with a stormwater plan that works and won't be impacts downstream. So we just ask for approval.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
And I just want to verify that, because in the packet, it's got both the old plan with 16 lots, but what we're talking about is really page 6, which shows kind of the newer design that shows everything kind of up front, closer to Emory Road, leaving most of that vegetation in the back, correct? That's kind of what's before us today? Because page 4 showed a different layout of the lights.
Page 4
Ms.
is
Warren?
from an old concept, and so those lots got addresses, but it was never developed.
Okay, just want to double check that. Then with that, I would make a motion that we approve per staff's recommendation. Let me get back over there. Approve the requested variance and alternative design standards based on the justification provided by the applicant and recommendations of the Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the variance and alternative design standards based on justification provided by the applicant and recommendations of the Knox County Department of Engineering and Public Works by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Huber. Is that correct, Commissioner Huber? Okay. And seeing no other, Commissioner Higgins.
Just one question. Will the development plan come back to us, the final development plan?
No, this is the final.
Okay. I just wanted to say, I guess maybe pointed out, but a lot of times we talk about wishing that the developers and the neighbors would, hoping that they would communicate with one another more. And I think that this is a really good example of, with you all going out on the site together and trying to work with the neighbors' concerns. I just want to thank you for that, and hope that that continues to be the case, that relationship and those conversations. And maybe sooner might have helped a little bit with some of the communication, but I think it's really great that you all were able to do that. So.
All right. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the concept plan subject to the 6 conditions per
Second.
staff recommendation.
We have a motion to approve the concept plan subject to 6 conditions by Commissioner Smith, and that would be seconded by Commissioner Huber. Seeing Mr. Higgins, do you have a comment? Okay, we're good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the development plan for up to 12 detached dwelling units on individual lots and the reduction of the peripheral setback from 35 feet to 25 feet, subject to 2 conditions.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the development plan for up to 12 detached dwelling units per staff recommendation by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Huber. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 35. Applicant, D.K. Levy, Architecture and Design. Location, south side of Middlebrook Pike, east of Countryside Center Lane, west of Durham Road. Approximate size of tract, 11.04 acres. Zoning, planned residential, up to 12 dwelling units per acre. Existing land use, rural residential, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Proposed use, 128-unit multifamily development. Staff recommendation is to approve the development plan for a 128-unit multifamily development, subject to the noted 8 conditions. The applicant present.
Yes. Hello. Daniel Levy, 3523 Maloney Road, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Do we have any opposition? Would you like to proceed or defer, Mr. Levy?
I'll defer to the opposition.
Thank you.
Jeff Wright, sorry.
All right.
1243 Hearthstone Lane. Like to say that I didn't think that this property was appropriate for apartments being so close to subdivision based on the density of that. I understand we have apartments in between, on the other side of the proposed area there to the left, but that's not near as dense as adding some more in there between us. As you can see, my property is at the cul-de-sac right there to the left. Go up. Anyway, so the proposed plan is going to put parking and one apartment right behind my property. The parking lot setback proposed is 15 feet from the property line. The closest distance from my corner of my house to my property line is 27 feet. 15 feet is not much more. We're right here. And if you just put some evergreens there, that's not going to do it. I'm going to have noise of cars, doors, people talking and stuff 24 hours a day. Obviously, I didn't purchase the property if I'd have known that. And I personally, and I don't expect nobody to answer this, but I don't think that any of us here would do that knowingly if we knew that. So it's going to place an undue burden on my family. We have young kids next door. They're toddlers. I just think that's going to be a safety concern for my neighbors. But the noise and nuisance is the big one. And personally, my wife, she has a problem with insomnia and stuff. And I'll tell you, that close in my back door is definitely going to be a problem for me. And it's going to cause a health concern and a quality of life for my family. So I would ask that we take another look at this. I don't think that people really get the gravity of 15 feet and what some evergreens are going to do to help that. I do appreciate that I got to talk to Daniel this morning before I came here. It's the first conversations that we've had. I'm sure we could have some more conversations, but I would expect that maybe we look at doing some other things first before we approve this. And that's all I got right now. I'd like to reserve some of my time for rebuttal if need be. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Wright. Yeah, Jeff and I had a very good conversation today. There may be some opportunity on close to his parcel to look at different buffers, and currently what's being proposed in the landscape plan is an evergreen buffer. We talked a little bit about maybe a small wall that could help with some lighting or additional protection, or maybe even look for opportunities to move about 8 or so of those spaces further away from his particular home. So we're looking for a win-win there and an opportunity to work together. And so I enjoyed our conversation this morning. Also wanted to thank Whitney for all her help working on this project with us. It's a very tight and challenging site with the different topography changes, and we went through with the scenic highway overlay, just some interpretation issues. So I really appreciate the correspondence we had together. And then just wanted to highlight the hilltop protection areas that we're trying to preserve, and why some of the buildings are located where they are. We're trying to keep the buildings, the new buildings, where the existing grading has already occurred, which is kind of in that knuckle of the site where our buildings are. And so we're leaving all the existing vegetation towards the back of the property and on the frontage of Middlebrook, where the overlay is. So that's some of the justification for the layout. And we aren't fully maximizing the unit density. It could be up to 135 units, and so we're slightly under that at 128. So, but I think Jeff said he wanted to have a few more comments, so I'll let him speak.
So if you could leave that picture up there, as you look, sorry, as you look at the picture there, where that building is, just that property right there in that pie shape that goes back to the corner, that's my property. As you can see, they're going to put the one apartment building in there that's going to come down about halfway through my property, and then along the front is going to be a parking lot drive-through. So I can appreciate trying to remove some of those parking spots, but still the traffic is going to have to go back and forth through there. And I saw the plan before this plan that didn't have that parking lot area. That was less intrusive than this is. It's the noise. I mean, what can I say? It's the noise, and I didn't pay for that. And I feel like, I could put a for sale sign in it, but any good realtor is going to go, this is what's planned, and I'm going to have to deal with those questions and trying to deal with trying to sell my house, and it's going to make it less attractive to somebody else. So I would ask that maybe we go back to the drawing board, we can work together, and then we come back before the commission. That was, because you're my only protection at this point. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
And I just have one question. This is more for staff. So I'm looking at TCA 54-17-115. Considering there was existing grading already done, who owned the property when that existing grading was done? Because I want to make sure that they're not trying to skirt the intent of the law by having the grading done, transferring the property so that they can build a taller building, because now the grading is below the line, which would allow for basically an assertion of what the Scenic Highway Act meant.
The site is still above the highway.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chairman Hill. Mr. Levy, could a wall be built there between the two property, between the parking and the individual's property, all the way down through there to kind of give a little more separation?
Yes. Yeah, a landscape wall, and we could work with Jeff to look at materials and things, and that would be appropriate if that's the preference versus a screen buffer or like a type B buffer that was recommended by the conditions.
Is there room enough to do both?
I think the size of that would be a question for my landscape architect, but I would assume the size of the root balls may be interfered with by the wall, so I think it would probably be smaller shrubs would be what I would anticipate there.
I think a wall would probably is appropriate, given the proximity to his property and other properties in that area, whole section there. So I think a wall would probably be more appropriate if it were done in an attractive, aesthetic way. Yeah.
Okay, and you're anticipating a wall, like a head for parking lot lights, 3, 4?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, at least 4 or 5 feet tall.
Okay, understood.
I don't know, staff, if we can be more specific on how the materials and the height and location of it, but I will add that as a condition, and a motion to approve the development plan per staff's recommendation with the addition of item number 9, a appropriate buffer wall, for lack of better words, screen.
Commissioner Phillips, so on the condition 2, currently there's called for a vegetated buffer, type B buffer. So would it be in lieu of that, or would it be?
I would like it to be in addition, if at all possible. So that's my motion.
Second.
Can you restate that condition, please?
To add item number 9, appropriate physical screen, a wall of it. A wall, yeah. Ms. Brooks?
In addition,
In addition to the buffer.
In
in addition to the buffer identified in condition 2,
Correct,
in that same location.
yes.
I know on other projects, we've done parking lot screening, wood, approved wood fencing, things like that. So that's what you have in mind when you say wall. So
Yes.
screening.
Yeah. Unfortunately, at this point, we can't get specifics on what it would look like, but trust that staff can work with you to come up with something that's workable for everybody.
So we're adding a condition for a screening wall on the border.
Yes,
Property line.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
And maybe, not just affecting this individual's property, but others as well. They're all pretty close.
I will indicate that on the other property lines, the project is lower and there's already a landscape segment, a retaining wall. And so you wouldn't, like, the parking lot's already concealed. Yeah.
Steve, would you like to say something? Okay. Waving at us. Commissioner Shelso, did we get a second? I'm sorry, Lou, okay. Commissioner Browning gave me a
Browning.
second. Okay, thank you.
These homes are, specifically our neighbor here, his home is about 12 feet up from that parking lot too. So I don't know what a wall would really do. Besides keep. Yeah. That's my comment. I don't think a wall will be all effective, but.
Commissioner Hubert.
Yeah, I want to echo a little bit of what Commissioner Shelso was saying, because, I was looking at some of the others that are overlooking the buildings, and it's in the district, the scenic highway district, which maxes out at 35 feet, correct, Ms. Warner? So the average height of the building maxes out at 35 feet, where most of them in that cul-de-sac, the topography is running down, but a lot of them, as Commissioner Shelso said, are more than 35 feet above, so they'd actually be looking at the roof line of the apartment buildings down there. So I don't have any problem with that, with the retaining wall and being set below it. I do see the issue on the back portion of it where it is still elevated, but it's not elevated as much. So I guess I just, for clarification, just would maybe want to say that fence or that wall would just be on that back section of the parking lot, not necessarily all the way around, because it gets very redundant at that point.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and we added that condition of a screening wall. We're just going to slash. We got that? Okay, all right. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Item 37. Applicant Sergey Bodizit. Location north side of Ball Camp Pike, south side of Shod Road, west of Amherst. Approximate size of tract, 3.932 acres. Zoning, plan residential, existing land use, agriculture, forestry, vacant land. Proposed use, multi-dwelling development. Density proposed 8.14 dwelling units per acre. Let's see here, we have staff recommendation is to approve the development plan for the multi-dwelling development with attached and detached houses with up to 32 dwelling units and a reduction of the peripheral setback from 35 feet to 30 feet, subject to 10 conditions. Is the applicant present?
Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant.
Do we have any opposition? All right, would you like to proceed or defer, Mr. Mullins?
I'll defer, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brenda Brooks. I represent Seth Downing, and Mr. Downing is here in the lilac shirt, and Brooke Downing is with him. And I may defer a minute or two of my time if he wants to make some additional comments over and above what I state. I'm an attorney. My address is 6223 Highland Place Way, 37919. Mr. Downing's address is 7201 Ball Camp Pike, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37931. He shares a common boundary with the proposed development, and I sent a letter to the commission yesterday, and thank you all for allowing me to speak. I sent a letter yesterday afternoon with some attachments, and the letter requests a postponement and to require Mr. Bodizat, the developer, to do a wetlands delineation on the property. And if we go back to the site map that was planned, if you look in about the middle of the bottom of the screen, you can barely see. There's just a very slight drawing, and you really can't even pick it up there, where there is a wetlands designated on that. It's very faint, and if you look at the drawing of that last parking lot with that last building on the left-hand side, that wetlands designation and that turnaround for that parking lot are so close that if there are any alterations, because Mr. Reynolds was telling me that there may need to be some alterations to that turnaround because of emergency equipment requirements that could cut into the barrier that is required by state and federal law for the wetlands area. There's a 25-foot mandatory barrier, a 25-foot barrier that can be altered some, but those lines are so close. And the reason that we want a delineation is I don't know where the map came from that delineates the wetlands area on this map that we're looking at on the big screen. I don't know who drew that. And if that delineation is any larger or if the configuration is any different, that is going to dramatically impact how that turnaround can be presented and still meet code requirements. We need a delineation because that wetland exists. And my client is even more concerned, and attached to my package is a letter from the TDEC to Mr. Bodizat, October 22nd of 2020. And that letter is to advise him of a violation, unauthorized stream alterations. Mr. Bodizat, if you look at the satellite image of this property, if you'll turn to that, go to the left where that large building is. I'm sorry, go the other way. There is a church there, and Mr. Bodizat owns that property. So my client's property is immediately to the west of the church, right where that white roof is. That is my client's garage, and that is his house, I believe. And so Mr. Bozat received a notice from the state of Tennessee that he had violated stream alterations on the church property at 5050 Shod Road, and that is in your package. And so my point is, we didn't have the oversight for him that I'm asking you to impose upon him. So before we realized what was going on the church property, he had already altered wetlands and streams, and we don't want that to happen again. So I had asked for the postponement. I've been in communication with Mr. Elliott. I've been in communication, I talked to Mr. Snowden before the meeting started, and one solution that I can ask for and suggest perhaps is that as a condition to this approval, that we require Mr. Bodizat to do a wetlands delineation so we know exactly on this site plan what he's going to, what his parameters are on the property that he cannot disturb, and that we also require him to do an aquatic resources alteration permit, that we require him to get that to make sure he does not have the same problems on this property that he had on the church property. And this is what will protect my client, will protect the surrounding neighbors, and basically make sure that we've got sufficient oversight so that we do not have a problem.
Councilor Brooks, if you could wrap up, please.
And I'd also, in my attachment, I've got a soil map that shows the property and that it's a very low-lying area. I've got an aquatic study that shows that there's a hydraulic determination and there is aquatic life. There was on the church property, there is on this property. It needs to be, EPA needs to have sufficient oversight, and we're asking for our concerns to be addressed in approving this so that we have some sufficient oversight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commission. Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street. This application, the rezoning was before you in April, where this body recommended 10 units an acre. After that zoning was recommended for approval here, they submitted their development plan, which only required about 8.14 units an acre, and County Commission actually then reduced their recommendation to 8.2 to accommodate what we had actually proposed versus what we had asked for. We agree with staff's recommendation in the 10 conditions, including the landscaping buffering. There's a type A, B, and C, depending on what boundary, which should help mitigate any visual or noise impacts from this development to the neighboring properties, and the height limitation as well is consistent. And we appreciate staff's recommendation on this. A couple of neighborhood concerns. I know there was some comments that were posted. I'll address those first. There was concern about traffic on Ball Camp Pike. This property doesn't access Ball Camp Pike. Its entire access is a single entry there at the median break on Shod Road, which is a minor arterial with 77 feet of pavement, divided highway. No traffic impact analysis was required for this. There were some concerns. These are apartments. These aren't apartments. This is a mix between 30 duplex units and 2 single-family residences. There was also a question, especially the zoning, about utilities, and I believe Mr. Harbin submitted the utility service maps on this, but both KUBs confirmed that there's water and sewer available to the property, so there's no issues there. Regarding the specific concerns Ms. Brooks raised, we did have a wetlands delineation done. That's Mr. Harbin, when he laid out his site plan. The wetlands delineation was done by GEOS, and the area that's noted on that map is the area of the wetland determination. So we've already done that. The wetlands issues, the ARAP, the issues of the EPA and TDEC, those are state permits that we need to move forward. That's really beyond the purview of this body. We're looking at a development plan with the layout. We have to get our permitting moving forward to be able to do this. We'll work with Knox County Engineering and with the state and the federal government if necessary. But right now for the development plan, that's really kind of beyond the scope of what we're dealing with. I do need to take a bit of time, though, to address the letter. I didn't, on the website, the only thing that I saw posted from Mrs. Brooks was the 2020 letter about the violation. And I asked Mr. Bozad about that, and apparently they were bush hogging some property there in the wetlands around the stream. It got kind of sunk up, and they thought they could dig a ditch to kind of dry out the area, so they can bush hog it, and they got immediately got a notice of violation. Hey, you can't do that. You're actually affecting the stream. You got to get the permits. And they stopped, which shows that there is a sufficient amount of oversight, even on the state level, when you're dealing with this area. And that oversight will be present as we move forward on this application. So, I think we've talked about this at the zoning phase. We've narrowed it down to the density. We've addressed it by allowing the property to be clustered and a slight reduction in the peripheral setback to move it closer to Shod Road and away from the environmentally sensitive areas that are there to the south and the east. I think this is a good development plan. It has staff's recommendation, and I'd ask that you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Just want to verify, Ben, what I heard you say. Even if we approve this today, you still have to get all of the permits for the wetland area and things to comply with all the laws, whether it be state or federal for that area.
And it depends. The ARAP, I don't think it would be required here unless we're getting into that area. But if we do have to make some modifications, like Ms. Brooks talked about in the conversation she had with Mr. Reynolds, where we have to maybe potentially disturb some of that area, we'd have to go and get the ARAP at that time. And again, that's a permitting process that's beyond the decision today that we'd have to comply with.
So, Mr. Chairman, with that and knowing that there is now neighborhood oversight that will report anything that if they violate that area, I would move that we approve the development plan for the multi-dwelling with the attached and detached houses up to 32 dwelling units and a reduction of the peripheral setback from 35 feet to 30, subject on the 10 conditions as recommended by staff.
Second.
We got it, I think. Okay, we have a motion to approve per staff recommendation by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Huber. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
May I make one request, please?
Ma'am, we've already voted on it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's see here. That moves us to, I will entertain an honorary motion to adjourn by the two that'll put a punctuation on the ending of their terms.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
When? Oh, okay, hang on, folks, or hang on, commission. We have our annual meeting. This to the next. Okay. Okay. Okay, we are moving on to our annual meeting at this time. And we will have the presentation of the Knoxville, Knox County Planning Annual Report, fiscal year 2023-24. And Ms. Allie Ketron will be addressing us.
Yes, thank you.
And along with Jeff Welch.
So we shared with you all earlier this week a draft of our annual report, and so we just wanted to take a few minutes to walk through the work that you all have completed over the last year, as well as some projects that our staff has been working on. I know much of this is probably just reminders about work that you're already aware of, but just worth taking a few minutes to recognize that work. So this is an overview of the cases that you all heard last year. I'm sure it's no surprise that you heard over 500 total cases, and this just shows that breakdown. This is pretty comparable to the previous year, though I think that total number was about 480, so up somewhat from then. Next slide. And this is just a very brief snapshot of some of the development activity that occurred in our community last year. So it's broken into residential and non-residential there. We also shared with you all earlier this week the 2022 Development Activity Report. So that is a much broader look at that activity over the previous year. And we'll speak a little bit more about that. But this is just a very brief snapshot. And so we want to take a few minutes to talk about not just our, the tasks and workload that comes to us on a monthly basis, but also some of the major projects that our staff have been working on in addition to that. So breaking that down into the work of each of our divisions, looking at the Planning Services Division. You all are well aware of the Missing Middle Housing Scan that was completed last fall. So our staff worked with the City of Knoxville and Opticos, a consultant group, as well as the Knoxville Area Association of Realtors to complete that study. And now that it's out, the city is continuing their work on that, looking at ways to identify areas where it's appropriate and really move that work forward, continuing work with partners and their leadership and city council. You're also well aware of the Advanced Knox project. Over the past year, there has been quite a bit of work that's gone into that project. So reaching out to the public and getting lots of input from our technical and advisory committees on work on things like the preferred growth scenario and a future land use map and a list of prioritized transportation projects. And that work continues, and we anticipate that it'll be wrapped up later this year. So the project team is moving into the adoption process, so you'll be hearing more about that soon. And then finally for this group, just a reminder of the Alcoa Highway Corridor Study. So that was wrapped up last summer. It came to this body and then was adopted by both City Council and County Commission afterwards. And just looking at that corridor and trying to identify areas for redevelopment there, looking at opportunities for additional retail and commercial and investment in housing there. Moving on to our transportation group. So they completed work on the 2023 to 2026 Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP. So that is updated every 4 years, and it is a work program, a 4-year work program of federally funded and regionally significant and financially constrained transportation projects. So that was adopted by the TPO's executive board in October. They have also continued work on an ongoing pavement management project. So they worked with applied pavement technology and assessed pavement conditions for several participating member jurisdictions. And so those jurisdictions are now using that information to identify streets that are most in need of repair and to develop multi-year maintenance rehab plans, trying to be cost-effective in their maintenance for the region's roadway network. They've also embarked on a regional roadway safety action plan. So the TPO formed a task force with some local government partners and TDOT and Bike Walk Knoxville. And they're looking through that project to identify changes that can be made in the region to save lives and to prevent serious injuries on our roadways. So they anticipate that they'll have that plan in place later this summer, and once they do, it'll position local governments and the TPO to apply for federal funding. And just worth a mention, the TPO's continued work on the Smart Trips program. So participants in that program last year made about 37,000 fewer car trips by making alternative choices, so biking and walking and riding the bus and making an impact on our roadways and our air quality that way. And then looking at our information services group, quite a few things have happened within that group over the last year, responding to requests by lots of users. A transportation impact study layer was added to our case viewer map. So that allows users to go in and filter their search, and it shows active and archived cases that have a traffic study associated with them. We also continued work on our technical report series. So we've brought those to you all, but just a reminder that we wrapped up a tech report on the center of population. So looking at the underlying social and economic drivers of that shift. And also the priority population technical report. So looking at neighborhoods in the area that are most challenged by daily stressors and inequities. Also want to mention the website support that this group provides for lots of local partners. So providing content and maintenance and design work for websites for lots of local partners. It includes the Knoxville Chamber, the Industrial Development Board, the Advanced Knox Project, the TPO, and also did some work for the Tennessee chapter of the American Planning Association for their 2022 fall conference. And just also want to talk about the fact that over the past several years, we have produced lots of really great interactive tools that live on our website and that we try to keep maintained and up to date to share the data that we have access to with you all and other, elected and appointed officials and the public. So last year, data updates were made to Panorama and also to the American Community Survey Explorer. That group also added a new dashboard to Panorama showing the area's priority populations. And those updates just, again, allow us to keep that data up to date and keep users informed better than ever before. So those are just some of the things that we've been working on that we wanted to share with you all. I'll turn it over to Jeff.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. The healthy agency is quite good. Our fees intakes are already about $180,000 ahead of fee intakes versus where we're budgeted for this year. Obviously, the number of cases that you have seen reflect that. So we'll be ending in the black. You guys will be getting a bonus at the end of this year too. Thank for your hard work. So you can look forward to that in July. Our grant revenue is about $1 million so far. That's always lags by a quarter because we're of our billing cycle with that, but we're continuing to utilize a significant amount of our grant revenues to help pay for salaries and staff as well as pass through for a variety of studies. Our expenses are below our target right now. Primarily, as you know, we've been understaffed throughout the year. So that is partially why we're in the black. But the good news is, as of today, we are, Monday, we're fully staffed. We have additional planners on board. We have additional technical support people helping us. I think we have a really great staff right now. There will be some 2 to 3 months of additional training that's going to be necessary. But I think by midsummer, early fall, that we'll be in a really good shape. Takes a lot of the load off of our existing staff, and maybe we can spend some more time doing planning and looking beyond just zoning and subdivision cases and try to advance the community with planning. Obviously, with Advanced Knox, we'll be developing into the development ordinance and that, but we'll be able to move forward with that in the next fiscal year. And so I think going forward in our budget that you approved before, we'll be in very good shape to, again, with anticipating growth to to continue. But we do have a healthy fund balance. We have enough fund balance for about 8 to 10 months of covering costs in case there was going to be a significant recession. Our fund balance has grown significantly over the last 2 years, primarily because of the increased fees of what we had budgeted. So we're in a very good position in respect to that. If we were to see a downturn in the economy, and the agency will be able to survive, with some fees reduction in case for the fund balances. So with that note, the last point I'll make is I'm not sure who's buying, whether it's Jeff or Pat, but maybe I'll see you there. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, before we quit, I would like to say this. I was appointed in 2011. But I want to tell you, I want to recognize the staff of this organization over the 12 years I've been involved. They've done a great job. I've always said sometimes it's a little thankless. They work their tails off to make recommendations, and sometimes we come in here after hearing it for 2 days and go, no, let's do something different. But I just want to recognize the staff. I think it's very important, the work that they do and the work this commission does, and I just want to thank them for their hard work.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just point of clarification. Is this large bonus why Director Welch is waiting till later in the year to actually officially retire? I think we need to investigate the timing of this.
You'll have to ask Director Welch about that. All right, let's move on to the election of Planning Commission officers. And so at this time, if there are any floor nominations, we will accept those. Do we have any floor nominations? We have a motion to close floor nominations.
Second.
We've got a second by Commissioner Browning. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Is that it? So, I guess we need to vote on the candidates that were selected, and that was Vice Chair Uten has again once been selected as a candidate, and then I have been selected as the potential chair. So do we vote on those together?
Motion,
One at a time.
nope, motion to approve the slate of candidates for the next year.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Phillips. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Look forward to working with you next year.